The first trimester. Y'all, that was rough. I don't ever want to do that again. That was not fun, and it's still not fun. I'm not feeling great, but anyways. I'm not wearing any makeup today because I didn't feel like it, and I have notes on paper because I like paper better. Okay, I'm gonna start off with some definitions slash, I don't know, explanation of how these things actually feel for somebody who's never felt them before. And then I'm going to go into a timeline of when I felt these things. And then what am I going to do? Then I'm going to talk about the mental and emotional struggles of this all. And then some of the good things that I've experienced as well in the first trimester. That was hard to find. But no, there's been some good things. So I will include all of it. Before I get into the bulk of complaining about all this, I do want to just say that I am so happy to be pregnant. This is such a gift. This is such a blessing. It really is. And I know that there's a lot of women that would just kill for this. So I do want to be kind of sensitive to that and just know that, you know, I feel like this is wonderful. I really am happy to be pregnant. And also it's been rough. So I'm going to talk about some of the rough stuff that has happened as well. So let's dive in to how this has been. Nausea. So I experienced nausea all day and all night for 3 full months. It was so hard. Not fun. Also, there are things that are harder in life than this, and I know that. So yes. Also, I'm going to get a baby at the end of this, so that's going to be cool. I'm very excited about that. The kind of nausea that I experienced was like me being in Bali. Day 2 of Bali belly. I don't know if anybody has been to Bali and has gotten the dreaded Bali belly, but that is basically getting sick from either the food or the water and just dying for like 5 days. And thankfully for me, I didn't have it for too long. Some people really, I mean, like they have to get hospitalized and it's really, really bad. So I actually never threw up in all of my morning sickness-ish. I don't know. Is morning sickness throwing up or is that just nausea? I don't know exactly what that means. But in my first trimester, I never threw up, really. I mean, I've thrown up in my mouth like so many times. This is TMI. All of this is going to just be like a bunch of TMI, and it just is what it is. Basically, when I got Bali belly, I threw up all night and also couldn't get off the toilet all night. And so I was like literally on the toilet with like the trash can in my hands, throwing up every 15 minutes all night long. And so what I felt like during my first trimester was basically the day, like the morning after. So I stopped throwing up, but then when you finally get to sleep, you sleep for like 45 minutes, and then when you wake up, you're just like so shaky. And I would shake every morning that I woke up because I think your blood sugar is just all out of whack. And so you're just like super shaky and just, you still feel like absolute hell, like you've been to war, but you're not throwing up anymore, but you're just like, oh. Okay, so smell aversions. This is something that I really couldn't find much about, and it was like one of my most horrible symptoms that I had. So a lot of people talked about food aversions, which I definitely had, but one of my biggest things was just like the smell of things. And so what I can kind of relate it to is like, okay, when I was 14, I went to this floating village in Peru. It's called it's called Belen, B-E-L-E-N. Basically the city that's floating on a sewer. And I mean, there's like dead dogs floating by, and everything, you know, their waste goes in there, their human waste goes in there. So it just basically smells like human feces, like 10,000 pounds of human feces and rotting flesh combined. That's not what things smelled like. It didn't smell like those things, but my body was having the same reaction to smelling tons of human feces and rotting flesh, basically. It was disgusting. So what were my smell aversions? I love how people come on I don't know, how they would come on and just be like, yeah, these were my few things that like I had aversions to. I wish that was my case. I hated everything. Like everything food related, like I said, disgusting. Like I just want to like run out of the room. If Douye ever cooked anything, I had to leave or cry or both. But there were some things that weren't cooking related. The smell of coffee. I don't know if this is like a protective thing because you're not really supposed to have caffeine, or I guess I say not too much caffeine now. Oh my god, I would never have touched coffee. Decaf, caffeine, it doesn't matter. It smelled, this was like rotting flesh to me. Like this was so horrific. Oh, this one was a sad one. I hated the smell of Hiccup, my dog. And I love Hiccup, and I usually love the way he smells. Like, I don't know, because I love him, I guess. But no. And I think that they say that dogs know that you are pregnant, and he would just like come over to me all the time. He was so affectionate during this whole thing, and literally he made me cry a couple times because I was just like, I can't, Hiccup, I cannot, you have to leave. And he was so confused all the time too. I tell him like, off, get off of me. And he was just like, why, mommy, don't you love me? Very sad. I can't. Candles and spray of any kind I couldn't handle. My favorite candle that I had before all of this, I hate now. Like it's my biggest aversion to anything. So even, I couldn't like spray anything if things smelled bad. Like it was all bad for me. Douye's cologne, one of my favorite colognes that he has. I bought it for him and love it usually. I hate it. I still hate. That's like one of my biggest smell aversions at this moment. Like hate it. Okay, so the stretch mark cream, I can't remember what I use, but it stinks to me. I hate the smell of it. That's another one. And then breath, like all breath, bad breath. I don't know. I like have a really sensitive nose to begin with, so I wonder if that has something to do with it, but yeah. Okay, so food aversions. Aside from, I feel like the smell aversion thing was a life of its own for me, but with food aversions, basically everything looked terrible. All the food, like just looking at food is like, ugh. Like it's not actually like it looked like this to me, but it's the same reaction that your body has as if there's like a rotting piece of flesh in front of you with maggots in it, and then you have to eat it, and you have to eat it because you have to help your baby survive, and you have to like help you survive. And that's the thing that I think nausea, when you have all these food aversions, is like such a blessing because, in a way, because you have to eat or you get really, really nauseous. Like if my stomach was completely empty, it was awful. So it was like this balance of like eating these horrible things, but doing it because if not, I would get super, super sick. So, but yeah, that's basically what it's like. Oh, cooking videos. Okay, so I used to love watching cooking videos on Pinterest. I can't. Oh my gosh, I can't do that. So I had to like go on and figure out how to hide all of those videos so they don't pop up on my feed again, because it would literally, like in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep, I was like, you know, just going on Pinterest, and it would literally just make me like dry heave. Oh gosh. And not only that, it went like one step farther where I couldn't watch any craft videos because that reminded me of cooking somehow, or pottery videos, which I love watching, reminded me of cooking, which was very sad. So some of my food aversions, well, everything, it was very unselective. Like it was basic, everything tasted rotten to me. Like nothing tasted good at all. I put it in my mouth and it was just like, yeah, varying levels of awful. Sometimes it was like absolutely the worst thing I could imagine. And other times it was like bearable, but still not good. Nothing was ever good. Chicken was unbearable. That's a big aversion for a lot of people. Couldn't do it. Chocolate, of all things. I am a chocoholic. I am like sugar. I would way rather choose sugar over savory any day. But this pregnancy has totally flipped that. Like I couldn't eat anything sugary. Vegetables of any kind. That's so sad because I was like, I want to nourish my baby with like healthy food, and usually I eat pretty well, pretty healthfully. I don't know, but I eat pretty well. And this was something that I really couldn't do. And I just had to just be like, I can't do it. And then coconut oil or anything coconut related, anything that had coconut in it, no. And the biggest frustration, and I wasted so much money, is because everything changed. Like I thought, okay, this is one thing. Like at the very beginning, it was tacos. I was like, okay, I think I can eat tacos. Like it tastes a lot less rotten to me than most things. So then I went out and I bought a bunch of like taco stuff. And then the next day, I hated tacos. And I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, so that just happened like multiple times where I just bought a bunch of stuff because I was like, okay, this is the thing, because I didn't know how this all worked yet. I didn't know how my body worked. Now I guess, you know, if I ever have another pregnancy, I will, I'll know, you know, not to just, I just got to go day by day and buy all the stuff that I need. Okay, so the thing that I did not have the whole time, which bothered me, is I had no cravings. Like, what are cravings? I don't get it, because I just never have had that. Like, everything was an aversion. Everything was not good. So I feel like that's like the best part. One of the best parts of pregnancy is like eating really good food. And if everybody was like, yeah, it's like it tastes so much better than it would like if you weren't pregnant. I'm still waiting to figure out what that is. It sounds, oh, you know what happened though that was really interesting is that I would dream at night of like amazing food. Like I would go to sleep and then I would just have like these very vivid dreams of just like stuffing my mouth with all the sugary stuff that I would never eat like during the day, and it just tasting so good. So I don't know, maybe I had dream cravings that did not become real life because I just couldn't. Really weird. Okay, so now that we talked about all of that, I'm going to go into a timeline of events and like what I felt based on the week. I found out I was pregnant at like 3 weeks and 5 days, so pretty early. No, 3 weeks and 2 days, I'm sorry. Really early, like the earliest that you can find out. Because I was testing and I was excited and I wanted to get pregnant. And I was so excited when I did get pregnant. So that was pretty fun. But what I didn't even think, like we'd been trying for 4 months. And there had been like months where I had fooled myself. I was like, okay, maybe I am pregnant this month. You know, like I feel all these different things. And then with this month, I was actually already like bummed out because I was like, I'm not pregnant. I like know for sure because everything felt exactly the same as it does before you have your period. So I just had like the sore boobs. Like I said, this is like all TMI stuff. You're welcome. But I had sore boobs, and then like that pressure or like soreness in your uterus that, I don't know if other people experience that before they have a period, but I just felt that. And then I was pregnant. And I was so excited. So 4 weeks is when I started feeling nauseous. And it wasn't that bad. It was like just in the morning. And I was like, oh, this will be fine. I can do this. You know, like a little bit of nausea, whatever. I did not know the things yet. So at 5.5 weeks, that's when I was like, oh boy. This is not great. So I had the nausea. The sore boobs. Like the sore boobs were something that happened, I want to say up until like week 11. So week 5 to 11. And it was pretty bad in the beginning. Not like, I mean, that wasn't the biggest thing for me. That was just kind of like, it's just really sore. It's pretty interesting. And they grew like more. I don't need them to grow, that's for sure. Anyways, I had a constantly bloody nose. For week 5, I just literally all night long, my nose was bleeding. I would just like wake up and there'd be just, you know, because I'd be blowing my nose at night and not realizing that it was just like bleeding, and that's why I was so runny. And there'd just be like all of these toilet paper things around my bed that just were just full of blood. It was really cute. It's because you're getting a lot more blood in your body when you're pregnant. I think, I'm not a doctor, but that's what the interwebs say. I got a hint of food aversions at week 5, but I didn't know what was going on, so I didn't know that it was a food aversion. But I bought all this good stuff from somewhere, Whole Foods or something. And then I went to eat it the next day and I was like, oh, I really don't like this. I liked it yesterday, but like maybe it just like, I don't know, just not sitting well with me today. So I couldn't eat it. I threw it all away. And then that was, looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, that was the very beginning of that. I was super dizzy. So all the way up until like week 9, I was very dizzy. Like I said, the nausea went from week 5, 5.5 really, to now 14 weeks. Week 6, I was like, oh, this sucks. So bad nausea had set in. Like, this was a thing now. Every day, all day, and all night too. And just feeling like super, a lot of fatigue and not, everything was a chore. Like getting up in the morning was a chore, and the first like couple hours of the day were the worst for me, and just like shaking and like, it was awful. Smell aversion started to set in at week 6, and I was just kind of like, huh? What is happening? And it's like, because the nausea remains after I smell something really bad, it remains for like an hour, maybe 2 hours. So it's like, I mean, the nausea is there all the time, but when I smell something really bad, it's like super nausea. Where it's not, I can't focus on anything else. And I was trying to work, because I'm like working from home half the time, trying to work, doing therapy with people, and like just feeling like I'm in a yak. It was awful. Yeah. Week 7, bad nausea, still so bad. Sore boobs, still there. Bloody nose is still there. Food aversions. So the food aversions really like set in like week 6 and 7 too. I think they come together, food aversions, smell aversions. And fatigue. Yeah. The bloody nose started getting better though. Like it was like 5 and 6 that I was like, holy crap. And last night, randomly, same thing. Woke up this morning with like blood everywhere. And my husband's like, ah, are you okay? And I was like, huh? Yeah. So week 8. Week 8, this was like the worst, one of the worst weeks. There was week 8 and week 11 that were like the worst for me. Week 8 was bad nausea, sore boobs, bloody noses, food aversion, smell aversion, everything was disgusting to me. Food, ooh, disgusting. And I was like in a wedding this week too, and I was like trying to, I think that was part of like I was like trying to be so put together. I'm like, I've got this. I could be a good bridesmaid. Oh, it was really hard. And then fatigue. That was one of the biggest things this week too, was literally I slept like 10 hours a night. And then I could take like a good 2-hour nap if I had the time to do it during the day or more. And I never take naps during the day. And if I do, it's like 15 minutes. So that was a lot. I was so tired that one time I was driving home and I almost fell asleep while driving. Like I was like, holy crap. Like I pulled over at one point and I was like, dang, like I don't know, should I sleep here on the side of the road? This is really dangerous. Yeah, it was really bad, and that's never happened to me. Like I am somebody who has such a hard time sleeping, so that was one thing that was kind of cool, is that I didn't have insomnia for the first 3 months. Now I have it again a little bit, but that's because I have sciatic pain, which I will talk about. I think like the worst weeks that I've had are the 2 weeks that like I started really noticing some changes in my body. So this week 8 was when I was like, girl, you're getting a little thicker. Like not, I mean, I didn't gain any weight at this point. I've only gained like 3 pounds as of now. But yeah, at this point I was like, I even dipped down at one point and I was like, yeah, because it was really hard for me to eat. But like I said, that nausea saved me, because if I was hungry, I was not okay. Okay, so week 9. Bad nausea, sore boobs, food aversions, smell aversions, fatigue. Still had to sleep like 10 hours a night, but like I wasn't as exhausted as week 8. I think week 8 too, I did a lot of things, and that was what was tough too. Week 10 was bad. It's like the same stuff. So still having all of those symptoms that I had before. Yeah, the fatigue was getting a little better. And the smell aversions, oh, week 10. This is when the smell aversions got even worse. I don't know. I was like, what? Week 9? I thought I was getting a little bit better, and then all of a sudden, like, bam, smell aversion. So yeah, that happened in week 10, and it got progressively worse. Like week 10, week 11, and week 12 were the worst of the smell aversion thing. Week 10 is also when I started sleeping on my side, and then I started getting sciatic pain. Sciatica. Yeah, so like on my right side all the way down my leg. So I started not having as much fatigue, which was kind of cool. But I also started not sleeping through the night because my leg hurt so bad. So it doesn't really hurt as bad during the day, but I think with the added pressure of like sleeping on my side, because my bump became too, I don't know, it's not like big or anything, but it's just like uncomfortable to sleep on my stomach. I'm a stomach sleeper, so I had to sleep on my side. But that's when I switched, and that's when I got sciatica, and I still have that, and it's getting worse all the time. It's great. Just so fun. Week 11 was one of my worst weeks. I don't know why this was the way it was, but I got like, the smell aversions were so intense and so bad. It was just awful. Like anywhere, just walking on the street and smelling anything just made me super, super nauseous. Everything made me nauseous. I started actually like throwing up in my mouth at this week because I also got heartburn, which is like, I think like some of the second trimester symptoms were overlapping with the first trimester symptoms, and it was just like this whole hodgepodge of terribleness. Oh yeah, I just put that I cried a lot this week because I did. Like I cried a lot because of the symptoms, because of smells. They just put me in tears, and eating things. I think that this was when I cried about the grapes, like eating the grapes. I'm just like, why do they taste rotten? Why does everything taste rotten? Why is this happening to me? It was awful. But I noticed a really big kind of like growth spurt in my belly this week too. So maybe there was just like a lot happening. I don't know. But that's when I really noticed. I was like, this is a bump. Like this looks like bump-esque. Doesn't even look like thick. It just looked like bump-esque. Week 12 was the same as week 11, but I stopped feeling nauseous at night so much. So when I was sleeping, I stopped feeling so nauseous. So before I was nauseous throughout the entire night. Anytime I'd wake up, I'd just be like, fuck. And then I'd have to eat like some crackers or something, and I'd be shaky, and it was just terrible. But I stopped feeling that bad at night. Oh, this is one thing that was like really, really cool. The one part of pregnancy that I was like, this is a cool symptom. I don't know why this felt so good to me. In the daytime, I'd have kind of like an aversion to water. It wouldn't taste good to me to drink. It was just kind of like awful. But at night, it felt so good. You know, like on like, I don't know, when you're just so thirsty and you just like drink and drink and drink and drink, and it just like hits this like wonderful new level. I don't know, just, oh, so good. I don't know how to describe that any other way, but it was amazing. And I had to pee all night long because I would just chug water all night long, but I didn't even care because it felt so good. So I don't know, maybe I had like the good things. I talked about that, like dreaming about cravings, and like I had like the water. Oh, the water felt so good at night. Everything was good at night, except for I was nauseous all night up until week 12, so who knows. So week 13, the day that I hit 13 weeks, I was like, oh, this is okay. But I think that that was kind of the beginning of like feeling a little bit better. And so it did, it's getting dark in here, huh? Yeah, I've been talking for a while. But it did, I was saying the words. There was words I was saying, right? Yeah. Oh. The smell aversions remained in force. Oh, that was the one thing at week 13. I did feel a little bit better sometimes, but then like the nausea would hit again and be like, "Gah, no," you know. But the smell aversions, like they were in full force. Smelling anything was not okay for me. Week 14, so it's been 5 days for me in week 14. There's some food that I think I kind of like. It's so weird. I don't think it tastes rotten to me. The PB&Js, I love them. I I do. I love them. I love them. Isn't that great to say? I love PB&Js. Ah, that feels so good. It feels so good. Like eating. That's the thing about eating is like you get so much dopamine from eating every day. I remember learning about this in the therapy school, and it creates happiness. You know, like it creates something that, I don't know, a booster for you. I was eating, but I'm sure I was not getting dopamine from eating. It was like the opposite of dopamine. What's the opposite of dopamine? Treacherous horribleness. In week 13 and 14, I was so thirsty, even during the day. So like a lot of drinking water, and it feels really good to drink water. Oh, that was the other thing I was gonna say, is that something started smelling good to me. I walked by some basil. I actually went to I don't know what it's called, farmer's market. And I could go to the farmer's market. It was so cool. I could go there and I wasn't like super freaked out by all the food. And I walked by some basil and it smelled so good to me that I actually bought it just to smell it. And that was the first time that anything smelled good to me in 3 months. So that's sad. Yeah, and sugary things, like the fact that I can eat PB&Js and there's like sugar in them is amazing because I couldn't eat any sugary things for so long. Heartburn is now a thing though, like that is just there. The sciatica, such a weird word, but that is there all the time. I can live with it. At night, there is about a 2 to 3 hour period that I am awake at night because I'll sleep for about 5 hours and then it hurts my legs so bad that like I can't sleep and I have to get up, eat some food because I feel better. I don't feel as nauseous if I eat something. And then like massage my leg out and then I can't get back to sleep for a long time. So that's really annoying. I mean, like, who has time for that? Not me, but whatever. So yeah, nausea's still a thing too. So I'm still nauseous, but only like 50% of the time. So I'm feeling pretty good. And the weird thing is, like, at week 13 and 14, I started becoming nauseous at night instead of during the day. So that's weird. Not at night, I'm sorry, like in the evening. Instead of during the morning. So in the evening I was like, oh, this is starting to happen again. And it, as you can see, evening, I should probably turn on a light. I think I'm gonna do that. Okay, I took a food break. I want to get down into the nitty gritty of like the mental, emotional stuff too, because I feel like most of the first trimester videos I've seen are just about like the symptoms of pregnancy, the physical symptoms. So I think there's more than just that. I wasn't like crazy, which is great because I feel like when I PMS, I'm a little like crazy. Like I don't know how else to describe it. I know that that's not like the greatest word, but it's just more of like, I don't know. I feel like everything is so big and like I pick fights with GA and I like know what I'm doing and later I'm like, why did I think that that was such a big deal when it's really not? I've not done that during pregnancy. I was really worried that I'd just have like 9 months of being terrible, which hasn't been the case. So I'm really happy about that. I have been worried a lot. I've been really worried about miscarriage. So I didn't really realize that this was such a big thing, that miscarriage is like 8 to 20% of all pregnancies. When I first got pregnant, I just was like not even thinking about that at all. And then of course, you get on Google and you do some research about stuff and it just pops up everywhere. And especially when you look at YouTube videos and there's so many comments, it's like, oh, this is my rainbow baby, which means like the baby that they're having after a miscarriage. So all of that really freaked me out. And I thought, I thought for sure like, oh, I'm gonna lose this baby. So I thought the whole time like, oh, this is gonna be bad. Something bad's gonna happen, you know? I don't know. So week 7 we go in for the first ultrasound and I was really nervous. And then finally there was a heartbeat, so I was like, okay, good. But I was looking at her face and it was freaking me out because there was something not quite right and I was like, what is happening here? And so I was really stressed out, and then finally she was like, I don't know what this is. And so she went to this other thing in my uterus and she was like, I don't know what this is. I think maybe, are you having twins? And I was like, get the fuck out of here. Am I having twins? Oh no. I'm not planning on that. I mean, like, cool, that's fine. But then she was like, well, I'm only picking up 1 heartbeat. So I was like, oh crap, like, what does that mean? So then I was like, I don't know, in this whole turmoil. And so then she was like, you know, let's get another ultrasound next week. So on week 8, we'll get that ultrasound and just see how things are going then. And maybe, you know, you might very well be having twins, is what she said. Like, maybe I just can't pick up the heartbeat for some reason. I can't see anything in this sac. Like, there was 2 gestational sacs, which are like what the baby's come in. And then, so she's like, let's just figure it out next week. And so for that whole week, I was just like, like looking up everything. I like looked at what a blighted ovum is, which is basically like a sac that's empty and doesn't have a baby in it. And so, you know, what I thought was happening, basically what they said, not really, what I inferred, and I don't think that it was too crazy to infer this based on what she said, is that I thought I had 1 baby and that there was twins, but one of the twins didn't actually develop into a baby. And I was like, what does that mean for this other twin? You know, like, is it going to be okay? How are we going to get that sac out? Or is it going to just, like, abort itself? Or, like, what happens, you know? And then when we went back, the craziest thing was that there was never a twin. The wand was, like, broken or something. The second wand was even broken. And it was creating this reflection so that it was just that one sac that was over there was just a reflection of the other one. And that's why they couldn't pick up a heartbeat on it. There's just 1 baby. There's only ever been 1 baby, and it's a healthy baby. And so I was just kind of like, okay. I wasn't even mad because I was just like really relieved. Afterwards, I was like, that was kind of messed up. Like a whole week, I was just over here like, oh my gosh. Everything was fine. And so it wasn't until week 10 when I had the ultrasound and I saw it move that I felt that like that joy and that glee, you know, like that people talk about. Because the first ultrasound was really stressful for me. The second one was kind of like, okay, you know, like, okay, I'm adjusting to all this, you know. And then the 10-week one, when we actually saw it move, was when I was just kind of like, yay, you know, like elated and so happy, and it was so healthy and so good and had a good heartbeat, and it was moving around, and I was like, it's alive, it's happening. So that is when my fear of miscarriage went down quite a darn bit. It's still there though a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of weird. So that was one of the things that was like a mental, emotional struggle for me. Also not enjoying food. I kind of talked about that. How like it's basically you're not getting dopamine, and I didn't even want to listen to music. Like music was just like, I love music, and it was just so, I don't know, just noise to me because I felt like so uncomfortable. I felt like I had the worst flu of my life, and I didn't want to do anything enjoyable. Yeah, so that was a thing. There was something else on that. Oh, I couldn't even meditate, because when I was meditating, I was focusing on my body, you know, like relax your eyes and relax your palms of your hands and relax all of that. And then it would come to like my belly, and I'm like, there's something in my belly, you know, like all of it reminded me of pregnancy, and all of it reminded me that my body just was weird. That was one thing I didn't mention in the symptoms, is that like body aches. I felt like totally achy for the first good month that I knew I was pregnant. The mental battle, the struggle of feeling sick nonstop, like I said, like having the worst flu of your life for 3 months, and like not being able to take a break, because I don't know, like when you're sick, you get to call out of work, right? But like when you're sick with a baby, first of all, nobody knew for a while, you know, at work, but I had to tell them because I was just so not okay. And you know, like when, I don't know, you can't take 3 months off of work, and like it's not socially acceptable to like just be like, oh, I'm gonna chill because I'm pregnant. Like, I don't know, people are pregnant all the time. So that was just kind of like a mental battle for me. Having to do everything and just dragging your ass and feeling just so sick. Changing life circumstances, or like going into this new stage of life. I haven't been on social media, or like, you know, when I say social media, like Facebook or Instagram, because I don't do TikTok because I'm old. But I haven't been on in a while. But I went on really quick. I went on there, and then I saw one thing that led to another that kind of just like checked into my friends, like my good friends, you know, on social media, and I was like, oh, there's been a lot of things in the past 3 months that I have not been invited to, and I didn't even know I wasn't invited to, and it was kind of like this FOMO. Like, I wouldn't have gone anyways. I was terribly ill, and they knew that, you know, so, but it just was like this realization of, I don't know, like separation almost from my friends and myself, of like, I'm in this different life stage. Not, I mean, you know, only one of my other good friends has been pregnant before. Nobody else has, so it's just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like different, and I don't know, I had a really hard time. And not just because I wasn't invited to these things, but just like I said, like, this is a different stage in life, and like, I'm gonna have to adjust to it. And this was right after too, I had a day, my husband works a lot, but I had a whole day with him, and then he was like, well, what do you want to do today? And I was like, well, I don't feel good enough to go on a hike, so that's out. I can't smell anything because it's the worst, so we can't go out to eat somewhere. We can't go out for drinks because that's socially unacceptable, and, you know, fetal alcohol syndrome. And what else is there to do? You know, all the things that we usually do, we couldn't do. I couldn't do. He can do. That's what's like, kind of makes me mad too. I'm like, ugh, you can go out, like, he can go out with his friends and go drinking, but like, I can't do that. Okay, so the other thing is the weight gain worries, right? So that was something that, I mean, it's in my head for sure. I've been the same weight for 5 years, and I worked really hard on doing that, you know? And so just pregnancy and knowing that, you know, it's healthy to gain 25 to 35 pounds because I'm a healthy weight. So that is just healthy, you know? But I was totally okay until like 2 weeks ago when I actually did start gaining. I've only gained 3 pounds, but I did start gaining a little bit of weight. 3 pounds, not that much, but it's like the most I've ever weighed. I should be gaining weight by now, but it did get in my head. Like, I cried. It's definitely going to be hard for me as I like increase in weight, and if I do gain more than like the 25 pounds or whatever that I like have set in my mind of like, I'm going to look good while pregnant, I'm not going to like gain too much weight, I think that will be really hard on me, and that's something in my own head, and I need to figure that out. Because at the same time too, like, I'm definitely not going to allow myself to be hungry. Like, this baby needs nourishment. I definitely am like, okay, I'm hungry. Even if I gain weight right now, I should be, like, it's okay, you know, but this has been a mental struggle for me as well. Oh, yeah, just like feeling like I had a lack of sense of humor. Like, honestly, for 3 months, my sense of humor was just kind of like gone. Like, I was just kind of like, you know, and I didn't want to be touched or anything. Like, usually I'm so affectionate and I love like snuggling and everything, but it's almost like when I had Bali belly, we'll go back full circle. I don't want him to see me on the toilet, like vomiting into this trash bag, all of that. No, I don't want him to see any of that. So he was like trying to come in though to help me, and I was like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, cool, bye. I'm gonna throw up alone. It's kind of what I have felt like during this pregnancy, is just like close to him, but at the same time, like, physically I don't want him like close to me, if that makes sense, just because I'm so sick, like, I don't feel good. And there's a point where, like, if I'm not feeling good a little bit, like, I'm like, I just want you to hold my head and all that kind of stuff, like, help me. But if I'm like feeling really, really bad, like honestly bad, honestly, I just want to be alone. Like, it's like a dog that goes under a tree to die. Like, it's like, leave me alone. I just want to be alone. I don't know. That's kind of what I feel like, honestly. But it's been getting better, and it's been nice. Like, as I've felt better, like, I feel like, oh, like, this humor's coming back into me, this life is coming back into me, and this like affection is coming back into me. So I really appreciate that. Oh, one of the things that was a little bit of a downside for me, or like a mental struggle, is like just looking at too much information and feeling really burnt out on all the pregnancy stuff. Like, it's on my mind all the time, and I wish it wasn't. And I think it's harder when you don't feel good the whole time, because it's like, it's in your face. Like, you can't avoid the fact, like, literally every moment you're like, I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant, because I'm like, I'm gonna vomit, I'm gonna like I feel awful, you know. I talked about this a bit when I was so excited to find out I was pregnant, and then like the nausea hit and honestly took so much of the joy out of being pregnant. And so that was a really big bummer, where I was just like, crap, like, oh, Carrie, like, this is a good thing, come on, be happy about this. And it was just really, really hard to be happy when you're just miserable 24/7. Yeah, I think that was all. Yeah, that was all. Okay, I'm going to talk about some of the good things I experienced in the first trimester too. Okay, so the very best thing that I experienced in the first trimester is just like this feeling of like love for my husband, and knowing that like there's this thing that's growing inside me that's like half of him, you know. And I don't know, that's just such a good feeling to me. And he's been so great. My husband has been like wonderful. Just having him around and just feeling so in love with him, and knowing that like our love, I don't know, like our love is growing. There's like this new thing that's like something that we made, and I don't know, it's so cool. I don't know how to explain it, because these are all new feelings for me. And yes, I've thought of these things before as a concept, but it actually happening, it like hits this different place in you. It's really exciting. And just feeling like there's this new space for this new thing too, this new little creature, little being that's gonna be there. And like I already love it so much, and that's really cool. It's a good feeling. Almost like I'm gonna live on, you know, like this thing is gonna be here after I'm gone. And that's such a cool thing. Like, more than cool, it's meaningful. I'm feeling close to my family, so I feel like my family has really been there for me. They've been so excited about this, so that has been really like a happy thing for me. And then like nesting, like I have been excited, like even though I felt like shit. I have been, there's been like times where I'm just like, ooh, like kind of nesting and like looking at little different like baby things that I could buy, and like that's been really fun. Also, I put on here, I wrote this in pencil because I forgot it. I haven't had constipation, and that's been freaking wonderful. So I've heard of a lot of people who have had terrible constipation, and knock on wood that doesn't happen for me, but so far it hasn't. So that's been like, I've been like, God, you looking out. Yes, this has been terrible, but at least I haven't had that. So, yay. Yep, that's how the first trimester has been. But hopefully this information was useful for you. It was a lot of information, but hopefully some of it was just good to know. Yes. If you're in your first trimester, best of luck to you. Post comments about how yours is going, especially if it's going terrible. I want to know. It feels better for me when it's going terrible for other people. No, I'm just kidding. It really is cool if you're having a great time in your pregnancy. I hope mine gets better. Okay, everybody, I hope you have a beautiful night. I am going to go to sleep now. Wait. I have to show you my little bump, dude. Okay, I gotta change into something that's more bumpy. This doesn't look like I have anything. Okay, I'll be right back. That's it, guys. It doesn't really, I mean, from the front I just look like I've gained weight. From the side, it's a little bumpy, right? I don't know. I can't wait till it like actually looks like I'm pregnant. That would be nice. Okay. Anyways, good night.